Hello everybody, Peter here from the Property Club. How you going? It's good to see you again. I'm feeling a lot better. I did have the fever for about a week after Songkran, so I wasn't feeling all that well. But look, enough about that. Today, we're here to discuss what's better. Is it better to purchase a house and land, or is it better to purchase a condominium in Thailand? So today, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of each of buying a condominium or a house and land. So let's get on to it. Thanks. So the first thing, and most importantly, is price. So you get more for your money. So for probably around about 3 to 4 million baht, for example, in some place like Pattaya here, you can purchase something, a nice villa, maybe about 10-15 minutes drive outside of the city for around about 3 to 4 million baht. So you're talking about 100,000 US dollars. So with a house, you're gonna get more space. A house is always going to be a lot bigger than, a condominium. And it's not just about the internal floor space, which you'll get more, for example, 200 square meters. For 3 to 4 million baht. You're going to get land, and you're going to be able to add on to that land. You might want to add a shed, or park an extra car when your son gets to 18 and he can start driving. So space is important to you, and you might want a dog and have your family and 3 to 4 kids. There's an old saying in the West, and it also applies here in Asia, and that saying is safe as houses. So at the end of the day, the capital appreciation, the growth is actually going to be in land, whereas the bricks and mortar usually depreciates. So with a house and land, your property will always appreciate more than a condominium. The other thing with a house is it's a bit more private, because with a condominium, let's face it, you're living with other people on the same floor, and unless you're lucky enough to have, your whole floor. But anyway, you can hear people in the hallways, you can hear people next door. Whereas with a house, you might want to, play a guitar, play some drums, and have that privacy and peace of mind. Whereas you do have that with a house, and you don't get that with a condominium. So let's talk about the cons. We've talked about the positive things, we talked about the good things about buying a house. But what about those negative things? What about the cons? So the number one, the biggest downside about owning a house is, you just cannot own a house in Thailand. At the end of the day, you're gonna have to use a conduit, for example, a company, your girlfriend or your wife, to actually purchase the property. You cannot hold the title in your own personal name as a foreigner. So that's the biggest letdown as a foreigner purchasing a house and land in Thailand. Another thing you need to consider is location. Usually a house or villa here in Thailand will be an inferior location to that of a condominium. So it means you're going to be further out from transport links or schools or the supermarket and this sort of thing. So that means it's going to be necessary for you to have a car. And in Asia, it can be quite difficult. Driving can be a bit crazy and hectic sometimes. A lot of accidents do happen, and for that reason some people like to be in a better location closer to town. Whereas with a villa or house, unfortunately you might get a lot of the advantages, but you don't actually get the location as the same as you would with a condo. You need to consider when you're buying a house and land in Thailand is maintenance. So you're going to have upkeep. Like all houses, anywhere you buy, you're going to have to maintain your property. So that's going to mean maybe there's a leaking roof, maybe there's a problem with air conditioning, and you can't just call on maintenance from the building to assist you. You're going to, try and get those outside contractors, and that's going to cost you. What you need to consider is the fact that you might have to hire staff to look after your house. Now it could be a maid or a caretaker, it could even be security, because if you're not going to be there full time and you're only spending half of the year in Thailand, let's face it, you're going to need someone there to look after your property. Look, I'm not trying to be biased, but I do love house and land. In my own country, in Australia, I still own my own house, and I love to have a house. I love to have a dog and have all the space. But the fact is, in Asia and especially in Thailand, I am a little bit biased and I prefer to buy a condominium. So let's talk about purchasing a condominium over a house in Thailand. So the number one thing for me is that it's legal. You can legally own a condominium title in your own name. So there's no risks. You don't have to put it in your wife's name. You don't have to put it in a company or some kind of tricky setup that you've set up with lawyers. So the thing is, you just go ahead and you purchase it in your own name. As long as the building has what's called the foreign quota available, so there'll be a certain percentage. For example, some buildings a maximum of 40% foreign ownership in the building. As long as the foreign quota hasn't exceeded that level, you can legally own the property in your own name. Bangkok. The most important thing to people usually is location, location, location. Now the thing is, people are looking to be in Sukhumvit, for example, on Sukhumvit Road, because you've got public transport, you've got BTS and MRT links. Similar to Bangkok, Pattaya behind me, you can see here we have another form of transport because we don't have MRT or BTS yet, is the BART bus. So for only 10 baht, you can actually jump on the bus and go anywhere you'd like in Pattaya. It's like one giant loop and you just jump on the BART bus and there you go. So for me, I like to walk outside of my condominium and jump straight on the BART bus and just get to where I gotta go, because at the end of the day, I'm time poor and time costs money. So let's talk about maintenance. Now in the UK or Australia for example, my dues, my maintenance cost per month could be as much as almost 1,000 AUD a month. It's just horrendous. But in Thailand, only $30. So it's really cheap. Dues for maintenance are really, really low. The advantage is too, you don't have to maintain your gardens, you don't have to maintain the lifts or anything. You just pay your $30 a month and then happy days. I've got access to world-class hotel-like facilities, sky pools, 3 sky pools, sauna, steam room, everything, you name it, we got it. Okay, so let's talk about the cons of condominium ownership. So one of the cons is the fact it is not going to appreciate like a house and land does. Like I said earlier, safe as houses. At the end of the day, some properties in Asia, in particular Thailand, do depreciate. We're seeing more now that, properties are stabilizing and having steady or low growth, upward growth. But it's not the kind of growth that you get with a house and land. At the end of the day, you'll always make more money buying land over condominiums. So the other thing I've got to be totally frank and honest about is the fact that condominiums cost more. So for 3 or 4 million baht, you might be looking at only a 40 or 50 square meter condominium, depending on its age. Whereas for the same kind of money, you might be looking at 200 square meters for a villa or a house. So at the end of the day, there are some advantages to condominiums, but one of the biggest drawbacks is you're gonna have less floor space. The thing is, you don't have land, and this is one of the biggest things. You're not gonna be able to add on with your condominium. I can't just build an extra balcony out here or an extra room out here. It just won't happen. Whereas with a house and land, you can make extensions, you can do add-ons and changes and this kind of thing. You're fairly limited with a condominium with the changes you can make. Maybe you can make some internal changes, make it look a lot more pretty, but you're never going to increase the floor space. Okay, so look, at the end of the day, in conclusion, it comes down to your own personal preference and risk appetite. For those looking to take a punt, take a risk with some money, sure, buy a house and land. But the thing I would leave you with is say is, look, if you're going to spend every dollar you got and take the punt on a house and land, it's a bit risky. If you've got $1 million to spend, hey, spend 150, 200,000 on a house and land, not a problem. Perhaps you can risk that. But if you've only got 100, 150, perhaps look at a condominium. So for me, unfortunately, I don't have a budget of millions of dollars. I hope one day that I do. And if that does happen, you'll see me in my house, my beautiful Thai style villa here in Pattaya, or maybe even Bangkok. Don't hold my breath. But look, if it does happen, you'll see it here on the Property Club channel. So thanks guys, thanks a lot. Look, I want to hear what you have to say. What do you think? Do you prefer to buy a house and land or condominium? Please let me know and leave a comment below. And yeah, hey, if you did like the video, please do subscribe. Thank you.